So I just completed a new book I put on Amazon just a couple weeks ago. It's called The Greatest Science Fiction Anthology of All Time, and I would know I'm from the future. Um, I tend to latch on to these titles that I like that are a little too long or a little too stupid, um, because I know that I'll have to live with the title the rest of my life. But it's very rare I'll have to deal with anybody talking to me about the contents because nobody cares. Um, these books are self-published, so it's not really a big deal to me um, about the interior stuff for the short stories or some of the content there. I just want to make sure it's edited so it's easy to read. A lot of self-published authors will talk a whole lot about spending a lot of money on a cover, spending a lot of money on an editor. You're basically working around trying to get a professional grade book as a self-publisher, and I just don't think they're right. I don't think it's true. I think people misunderstand the publishing industry. They think, because most of the time you're talking not to professional published authors, you're talking to other indie authors, and I mean, I wouldn't say aspiring writers. I think they are writers, they're writing, but I would say aspiring published authors. And they have a lot of misconceptions, and they argue with each other based off those misconceptions. One of the big ones, I think, is, I think they believe if I just had a professional cover and a professional editor, then my book would be great, and I'd sell 1 billion copies, I'd have a movie, I'd have a breakout hit like The Martian or something, or Harry Potter, and it's just not true. The biggest thing holding back an indie writer is their writing. I mean, I don't think covers make or break books. You're going to hear a lot of people disagree with that. I don't think covers matter that much. Covers, I mean, take into account, if you assume you're in a bookstore and you're walking through the bookstore, you see a book that has a great cover, you pick it up. Okay, that's a conversion, that's a hit, that's a first point. It doesn't mean they're going to buy it, but they got it in their hands, that you made some progress. Now you've got to get that person to read the back. Does the back sound enticing? That's copy, that's marketing, that's part of the wrapper that's on the candy bar. They don't really know what it tastes like yet, but they're looking at it. It sounds pretty good. It's got nougat, it's got caramel, I'm into it. Then they'll open it up, they'll maybe read the first paragraph or they'll thumb through it. And if by then you've captured them, you've got a sale, that's great. But that happens so rarely. And I think it happens more often among people like us, people who are watching this video and people who are talking about indie publishing, because they really care about books. They like books. I love having cool looking books. I collect books. I don't think that's super common. I think a lot of people buy books, but I don't think a lot of people collect books. I treat them sometimes like reading trophies. Like, I read that and I've earned it and I want to display it. But for the most part, I think the way that people go and buy books is they're looking for it. They heard about it on a podcast, or a friend told them, or a teacher said, or their girlfriend suggested. There's some kind of social agreement where they've said, this person, says this book is good. I trust their judgment. They have a lot of authority talking about books. I'm going to go pick it up and I'm going to look at it. And at that point, cover doesn't matter. It absolutely doesn't. They're not going to say, listen, I love you and I trust your choice in books, but that cover, I'm just not feeling it. So even though I trust you as a reader and as an author or a writer or my loved one, I'm not going to read your book recommendation because the cover's ugly. That just doesn't happen. So the idea that a book cover is going to be a holdup to someone buying it, it's just not going to happen. On top of that, most of the books you're going to sell are going to be digitally. I mean, you're not going to sell a whole lot of books in Barnes & Noble. You can get on the shelves in Barnes & Noble. It's not that hard, but only locally. You can talk to your local Barnes & Noble. They'll run your book, but you're going to have a hard time getting a bigger reach, and you're not going to penetrate a whole lot of markets. So I really suggest, when you think about your book cover, don't think about something big and elaborate and ornate with a bunch of illustrations and a bunch of fine little typefaces. Really focus on something that's going to work as a thumbnail. Most of the time, you're going to be struggling for discoverability. That's the big thing, is can people find it? Your book cover doesn't matter if no one ever sees it, right? So focus on discoverability. Focus on, you're on a big list of top 100 books in this sub genre, and you're just a thumbnail listed among another 100 thumbnails. I think what's really going to stand out is get your title to come through on that thumbnail. Don't let it get lost in a bunch of illustration behind it. Don't let it get lost in overly flowery typefaces. Just say it, bold text right there so they can read it. I think people overdo it. I think they get too excited about what their book looks like in their hands, and they don't consider what it's going to look like, on an Amazon page, which is where it's going to live. That's really where you're going to be discovered. That's where you're going to get readers. The other thing I think people do when they self-publish that hurts them is they go out and they say, I'm going to get my mom to buy it. I'm going to get my girlfriend to buy it. I'm going to get my wife to buy it. I'm going to get my aunt, my uncle to buy it. I'm going to get all of my friends at the bar to buy it. And I do this too because I care so much more about like the social aspect of like, hey, I wrote something, which I think everyone does. But that kills your book. It's a really bad idea. What you really need is to go find people who will like the content. People who will say, that's the kind of stuff I'm looking for. Because the most important thing that has the most value to you right now is to sell your book to people who are buying similar books to it. Because you need Amazon's algorithm to connect your book with similar books so that when people are buying books that are like yours, they're seeing yours as a recommended. Basically, you don't have to pay for ad clicks. You don't have to pay for Facebook ads. You don't have to pay for any of that stuff. You just have to adhere to what the algorithm is already looking for. You want Amazon to think, oh, someone's buying Harry Potter. Your book's a ton of, very similar to Harry Potter. People who buy Harry Potter also buy your book. Every time someone buys Harry Potter, they're going to see your book advertised right next to it because you're the number one hit. And the only way you can do that is if 100% of the people that buy your book also bought Harry Potter. And if you sell it to your mom who's buying cookbooks and your book starts showing up on cookbook lists, you're going to lose all of that authority and you're going to drop. So it sounds counterintuitive. It's not about the amount of sales you get. It's where you're selling them and who you're selling them to. Because if you can get them, they're the people who are going to rate your book higher because they like it, because it's similar to what they like. If you're sending it to randos on the internet, especially on Reddit, and you just blast it, which, I do, like, you're going to get hurt. You're going to lose that authority. So, that's the main stuff I think about when I think about self-publishing. Find the right people, write the right kind of content, categorize it correctly, make a cover that's going to work as a thumbnail, make something that you think is going to work within the algorithm that Amazon has built. Doing marketing, I feel the same way. So people will talk about SEO, like search engine optimization, and what to do to get Google to rank your business or website as high as possible. And I think people talk a lot about what kind of tricks you can pull, what you can do to kind of get Google to see you first and rate you higher. And I think that's not the right way to think about it. Instead, find Google's best practices and follow them. So if you're thinking about self-publishing a book, I hope this was informative. What I'm saying isn't gospel, of course. Do what you feel is right. Do what you want to do. I guess follow your heart. Do what you want to do. Release a book. Get it published. If you want to make a career of it, it's slow. It takes a long time. If you just really want to be published and you really want to see your thing on Amazon, just go for it. Honestly, self-publishing takes 10 seconds. Once it's written, it takes 10 seconds. And a lot of people in the self-publishing industry will get really grumpy about it because they feel like the bad books that have flooded the market have hurt everybody. But I don't think that's true because I don't think they were selling a whole lot of books to begin with. I don't really think that was a problem in the first place. I think people who like buying books are going to buy books. And they're looking for those authors they like. And I don't think the publishing industry knows the market better than we do because we know what we want to buy and they're using market trends to guess. And a lot of the times they hit and a lot of times they miss and they get through by producing a lot. And sometimes producing stuff that's really terrible. Like they'll give Snooki a book deal because she's popular and she'll sell some books. They don't care about the quality. It's a business. They want to make money. And to me, I think we're making art. I would like to make money. I'm not super concerned about it right now, but for now, I'm making art. I'm just making stuff. Makes me feel good. When I look back on my life, I want to look back and say, I accomplished some things. I have a body of work. I have like 400 subscribers on YouTube and a couple books on Amazon, and I'm proud of it, and it makes me feel good. So that's why I do it. So I appreciate everyone who stuck around to listen to me kind of literally blabber about self-publishing. I super appreciate you guys. Like and subscribe if you're interested. I mostly do stuff, just all my hobbies, which is writing, drawing, and weird bug stuff. So if you're into any of that stuff, come back. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.